The grid went down 4 days ago. The police stopped answering calls yesterday. The grocery stores are empty. And that nice old lady down the street is eyeing your cat with a look that is strictly culinary. You have food, you have water, you have a stockpile, but right now you are making a fatal mistake. You are boarding up your windows with plywood. You are stacking furniture against the door. You are patrolling your front porch with a flashlight. Congratulations, you haven't built a fortress, you have built a loot box. You have just advertised to every desperate, starving predator in a 5-mile radius that you have something worth protecting. In the next 15 minutes, we are going to dismantle the Hollywood fantasy of the survival fortress and replace it with the ugly, boring scientific reality of becoming unlootable. We are going to use psychology, physics, and a lot of garbage to make your home invisible, repulsive, and mechanically impossible to breach without heavy machinery. The first rule of survival is not firepower, it is obscurity. If you look like a hard target, you are still a target. If you look like an empty shell that has already been picked clean, you are a ghost. We need to manipulate the risk-to-reward ratio. In the mind of a potential intruder, a looter is just a shopper on a budget of violence. He wants maximum calories for minimum caloric expenditure and zero risk of injury. If your house looks pristine, locked tight, and defended, his lizard brain sees a jackpot. If your house looks like a burnt-out health hazard, his brain sees a waste of time. This is called visual poverty. Stop cleaning your yard, in fact, ruin it. If society has collapsed, the homeowners association is dead. Drag your trash cans to the curb and tip them over. Scatter debris, broken glass, and old clothes across your driveway. Take a can of black spray paint and scorch the edges of your windows to make it look like a fire already gutted the place. If you have a nice car, cover it in mud, or let the air out of the tires, or better yet, park it down the block and leave the doors open. You want the path of least resistance. To lead away from your door, a pristine lawn screams, "I have resources." A yard full of biohazard bags and broken furniture screams disease and poverty. Now let's talk about the physics of your front door. The standard residential door is a joke. It is held in place by a pine wood frame and screws that are barely an inch long. A 200-pound man moving at 5 miles per hour can generate enough kinetic energy to snap that wood like a twig. The lock doesn't fail, the frame fails. You don't need a steel vault door. You need to change the geometry of force. Go to your hardware store now before the collapse and buy 3-inch screws. Remove the tiny screws from your strike plate and replace them with the 3-inch ones. These will bite into the structural stud of the house, not just the trim. This increases the force required to kick in the door, from 200 pounds to over 2,000 pounds. But we aren't done. A lock is just a suggestion. We need a physical barrier. You need a door bar or a floor brace. Mechanical leverage is your best friend. A simple 2x4 dropped into heavy steel brackets bolted across the inside of the door frame turns your entryway into a wall. The intruder isn't kicking against a lock anymore. He is kicking against the structural integrity of your house. He will break his leg before he breaks your door. And remember, noise is information. If he kicks the door and it sounds solid, like hitting a concrete wall, the psychological effect is instant discouragement. If it rattles, he knows he's making progress. Windows are the weak point of every fortress. Glass is fragile and silence is rare. Breaking a window creates a sound that travels for blocks, but boarding them up with plywood is a visual beacon. It says there are people inside. Instead, we use the blackout sandwich. You need heavy-duty contractor trash bags or legitimate blackout curtains taped flush against the glass from the inside, not hanging loosely. Taped flush, no light can escape. At night, a single candle flickers at 10 lumens. In a city with zero light pollution, that 10 lumens is visible for a mile. It's a lighthouse guiding people to your supplies. Behind the blackout layer, you don't use plywood, you use polycarbonate sheets if you can afford them, or heavy furniture if you can't. Polycarbonate is clear, 250 times stronger than glass and bullet resistant. If you screw a sheet of polycarbonate over your window frame, on the inside, a looter can smash the glass. But he hits an invisible wall, he makes noise, he cuts his hand, but he doesn't get in, he gets frustrated. Frustration burns calories. Frustrated people leave, but what if they are persistent? What if they are watching the house? This brings us to olfactory discipline. The sense of smell is the strongest trigger for memory and hunger. If you are cooking bacon or boiling rice, Those molecules travel. In a starving world, the smell of cooking food is a dinner bell for a mob. You never cook aromatic foods when the wind is low or during the day. You boil water, you eat rehydrated meals that don't smell, you cook in a designated interior room with doors closed and wet towels under the cracks. Or better yet, you don't cook at all. You eat cold rations until the herd thins out. If you must create a smell, create a bad one. Leave a bucket of ammonia and bleach carefully separated or rotting trash near the entryway. Humans are hardwired to avoid the scent of decay and sickness. Weaponize their disgust. Let's move to the interior, the onion layer theory. If they breach the front door, the game isn't over. It has just moved to level 2. Most people leave their supplies in the kitchen pantry or the master bedroom closet. This is exactly where intruders go first. It's predictable. Your real supplies need to be in the dead spaces of your home, under the floorboards, inside the box spring of a mattress, behind a false wall in the attic. You need a sacrificial offering. Keep a small visible stash of food and cheap jewelry in the kitchen, maybe 20 cans of beans and a fake silver watch. If looters break in, they find this stash. Their dopamine spikes, they feel successful and they leave. If they find an empty house, they get angry and start tearing down walls. Give them a win so they don't look for the jackpot. We also need to talk about sound. Silence is not just about being quiet, it's about not existing. If you have children or pets, this is your biggest liability. A dog barking at a squirrel is a siren. You need a safe room in the center of the house, preferably in the basement or a windowless hallway. Soundproof it now, mattresses against the walls, heavy blankets. This is where you sleep, this is where you exist. The rest of the house is just a buffer zone. But the most dangerous threat isn't the random looter. It's the organized group, the ones checking houses systematically. For them, you need psychological warfare. You need to simulate a threat that is invisible and terrifying. Signs that say "we shoot looters" are invitations to a gunfight. They tell the intruder you have guns to steal. Instead, put up a sign that says "quarantine typhus outbreak" or "contaminated water. Do not enter." Paint a red X on your door, the famous symbol for a searched house with dead bodies inside. Make your home look like a grave, not a bank vault. Let's go deeper into the gray man concept. Applied to architecture, your house should not produce light, sound, or smell, but it also shouldn't look too abandoned. If everyone else is still home, if every house on the block is intact, and yours looks like a crater, that's suspicious too. You have to match the baseline of destruction. If the neighbors have broken windows, break one of yours. If the neighbors have trash on the lawn, you need more trash. Camouflage is about blending into the background noise. In a collapse, the background noise is chaos. Be chaotic. Water collection is another giveaway. Rain barrels are great, but bright blue 55-gallon drums sitting under your gutters are targets. They scream, "I have fresh water." Bury your barrels. Hide them behind piles of firewood. Paint them matte black or keep them inside. If someone cuts your water supply, they control you. Don't show off your infrastructure. And finally, the ultimate failsafe, the escape. You cannot defend a static position forever. If they set the house on fire, your reinforced doors become the lid of your oven. You need an exit that isn't the front door. You need a way out of the basement, or a ladder from the roof to the neighbor's roof. You need a go bag stashed outside your house, buried in the yard, or hidden in a nearby storm drain. Because if you lose the house, you shouldn't lose your life. Survival isn't about being a hero. Heroes die in the first act. Survival is about being a cockroach. It's about being unappealing, hard to kill, and impossible to find. You want the looters to look at your house, feel a deep sense of pity or disgust, and keep walking to the mansion next door, where the guy is patrolling with a shotgun. That guy is a loot drop. You are a ghost, and ghosts don't get looted.